I could do SEO on your website and then also hook you to the lead gen because the GMBs are in different locations within the city. And he agreed to that. So I got $1,250 just to kind of start everything out up front, and then it's going to be $1,000 a month, every month after. So that was a win.
That's awesome, Bryan. Congrats, man. That definitely sounds like a big win. And, $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. But I would say, it's about 10 times easier to take the person that's paying you $1,000 a month to $2,000 a month or $3,000 a month than it is to find a new person. So that's awesome. Every time you get one of those, it's way more than the monthly dollar amount, right? So congrats, man. That sounds like a huge win.
Thanks, man. Couldn't have done it without you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, all right, Mr. Jeff, who else do we got?
We have Devon. He's always got to win. What do you
Devon
got?
He's a winner.
Hey, friends. Yeah, so a couple quick wins was that over the last 2 weeks here, I'm finally onboarding more of a team, having more of a system in place where I can finally outsource like all of content writing, handle what I want now from the beginning of just due diligence and sales at the end. But I've finally got at least some semblance of a system to really help streamline things. And because of that, this is actually my first 5-figure month as of yesterday. That we had 5 figures come in the bank. So
that's what I'm talking about right there, man. That is awesome. That's like a threshold, right? That a lot of people have, right? Where it's like hitting this number. So that's a big thing. The first time it seems like it's something off in the distance until it happens. And then when you've done it, then, at some point it starts to just become the norm. And then you kind of go up to the next level. So Devon, I think it's obvious if you guys are on the calls every week, you can see Devon has shared a lot of wins. This is his first win that is a 5-figure month, but you can kind of see the trajectory he's on. And, it's not just like rah motivation stuff at the end of the calls when I say do the actions that are going to create the wins for next week. Devon's been doing those each week. Each week he's coming back with wins. And this is what it adds up to. So if you guys want to do 10K in a month or more, like here's somebody who just went from being on one side of it to being on the other side of it. Right. So I encourage you guys, do the things every week that are going to result in wins. That's all it is. It's basically just a collection of small steps that end up to have kind of a bigger results, man. That's super cool. Really, really happy and proud. Nothing but respect for you, man. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you. And to celebrate when we hop on the call next week, we'll actually be in Tahoe. So
for sure, man. I love Tahoe. Yeah.
First time for us.
I try to spend 1 week in a year there at least. So that's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right. Who else we got, Jeff?
Right now we have Neil. Neil, you want to go ahead and unmute and share your win? Where you at, Neil?
Can you hear me all right?
Yep, we got you now.
Yeah. I'll tell you, this week, past couple of weeks, I've had some wins and some lessons. So actually the losses, I call them lessons, actually really were very helpful. And I found that 3 of the people that jumped when I said, all right, we're getting into monetary now, you've gotten some free leads, how have they worked out? They've sold some and they were all excited. Just excited, just willing, and they want me to throw everything I can at them. And the one pattern I noticed, they were all like mid-30s. I don't know if that's compared to some of the other guys I got that are, been doing it for 30-something years, and these guys want to grow, and I don't know if is that something to look into? I don't know. I
noticed that too, Neil, that some of these younger guys in their mid-20s to early 30s, they understand business and maybe they grew up around contracting, and I found really good success with these guys. They're motivated, they're hungry, know how to run the business, they understand at least a little bit about internet marketing, enough to know that they don't know how to do it themselves and they hire somebody. We're winning with those guys for sure.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that too. And another thing to be said is these guys that are in their like 40s, 50s, and early 60s, and they had success maybe like 10 to 15 years ago, but the way people find people has changed, and it can be hard to convince these guys that the world has changed. And you know, these guys that are a little bit younger, that were maybe in college or you know, in middle school, high school, when the internet came out, they just have a different mindset. And you know, it's not to say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but some of these guys that had the early success with their businesses, they seem unwilling to change and kind of like adapt. My GPS decided it was going to try to talk and throw its 2 cents in there. Sorry about that. All right. So Neil, you've got some lessons and you've got some wins.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, I thought the lessons were as valuable as the wins this past couple of weeks, because it's going to help me so much moving forward. You know, I know what I'm looking for now. It's really going to put me on a clearer path.
I would go so far to say that the lessons are more valuable than the wins, because that's just going to be repeated over and over, right?
Yep. And I also didn't do happy hour today, so I can last the whole.
Yeah, you snoozed on us the last time, man.
Dude, no more happy hour on Wednesdays.
Yeah, I think it was our buddy Devon who called you out on that one. And all right, cool. Well, congrats, man. Congrats on the lessons. And who we got next, Jeff?
Next week we have Henry sharing in the Facebook group that he just booked an SEO client on Upwork for $1,800 a month. That's a win. Congrats, Henry.
Which Henry?
Then we have Will, who is going to join us on Zoom. Will, if you want to go ahead and unmute and tell us what you got.
So a couple kind of leading indicators, and then a couple downstream wins. So a couple more GMBs live this week. Hired a new VA, fired a new VA, separate people, not the same one. Firing was helpful too, learned a lot from that process. Got a new business owner on a trial, switched out a business owner for a different one in a different niche, and had a couple checks in my mailbox when I checked my mail today. So
nice.
Excellent, man. That's great to hear. Sounds like some big moves going on there.
Yeah, good stuff happening here.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for sharing, Will. So there we have the wins for the week, and our wins, I think, for my sake, wins were, you know, going to this mastermind that we joined in, just making new connections, learning new things, getting new resources, and all of that.
So turn the video back on. Oops, sorry, guys. Yes, Jeff, can you just give us like maybe a 1 to 2 minute rundown of your biggest takeaways from this mastermind that we did?
Sure. Well, I guess my biggest takeaways were that, you know, just consistently putting yourself in the room with people who know things that you don't, you know. I mean, I hate to say like be the dumbest guy in the room. You don't want to necessarily be that, but it's like, you know, be in a room with people who know more than you about certain subjects, and just being open to learning, you know, always, and being reminded of things that you may already know, you may already have been through the information, but maybe these people that you're connecting with are executing it in a more powerful and productive way that you haven't been able to. You know, it's like one thing to get the information and apply it. And when you're around people who are applying it and, you know, building 7-figure businesses all over the place, it's like, well, you know, why isn't my business bigger? You know, like what are they doing that I'm not doing? They just have, you know, clients that are more valuable, or it's their process, all of the above, it's their mindset and all of that. So, you know, there's some process stuff in there that we learned that I feel is going to be very valuable for me, and just application. You know, one guy we heard speak, his name was Rich. Can you pronounce his last name off the top of your head, Patric?
Sheffrin?
Sheffrin. Rich Sheffrin. He's like some big internet marketing guy, and he taught like Russell Brunson and some other big names, and you know, he dumps everything into Evernote, and then he has a highlighting system where he takes the best of all the materials, like if he's outlining an article or, you know, some subject, and then he will he highlights it, and then he puts all the highlights at the top above, you know, wherever he's going to be able to find it the easiest. And that's the way he consolidates everything. He dumps emails in there, articles in there. He's clipping off the web. He does everything in that. So I'm trying to mess around with that a little bit even now. I have done Evernote before, but not to that level. So it's just like a brain dump, and the more accessible and searchable it is, then the less, you have to rely on your brain to do the heavy lifting, like rely on technology to do the heavy lifting. And then you always have that at your fingertips. And clearly I think that way. You see the outline that I do for these calls and all of that. I mean, I'm constantly doing that, but to have it in a more searchable, repository, if you will, then I think it would be even more valuable. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, awesome. I'll tell you that I love this idea of being the dumbest person in the room. It's something that it doesn't mean you're dumb, right? You're just, maybe you're not in the right rooms if you're always the smartest person in the room, it's so nice. I enjoyed this, to have these guys, kind of be like a small or mid-level fish in this room is great. And, that was awesome. And I want to encourage people to surround themselves in that situation, because you start to hear the way people think differently, and it seems shocking at first, but then I think if you spend enough time with these people, then it just becomes like the norm. Like they talked a lot about normalizing things, right? So there's people in there that are doing $1 million a month, and to have that be normalized. So what does that mean to be normalized? That means it's not something so huge that you're not believing it, and you're not going to be able to execute on it, because it's just like, hey, like Devon, for instance, he just talked about how he had a 5K month, and that a lot of you guys, that might seem like a big number, but after you do that every month, then it becomes normalized, and it's not that big a deal. And with that comes a lot of just like confidence and other things. So I think getting normalized to higher stakes is great. One of the things, some previous groups and stuff that I was in, it seemed like the goal was always more money. That's kind of what it felt like. It's like work harder, get more money, all this kind of stuff. And the person that was the person who's leading the mastermind, in my mind, the most successful person in the room financially, was talking about how peace and happiness is a constraint for him. And it's just a requirement, right? And he talks about how his productivity is so much higher because he is taking this time for himself. And this is something that, for me, like, if you go and we all went to this, we're all going to come away with different like takeaways. But for me, that was one of my biggest takeaways, is to see just the healthiness of the lifestyle that these guys are pushing. And this is why they kind of have the longevity to get to a lot bigger numbers than anyone that I've ever been around before, which was great. And they're doing it in such a healthy way, where it's like, I'm not willing to go do this if it doesn't mean happiness, because what's the point, right? I really like that kind of mindset that they had here. It was clear that where these guys are, they're doing a lot of studying and they're reading a lot of books and stuff. They went over what are called different mental models. So there's all these different mental models that you can go through. And I thought it was really cool to just the systematic approach that they're doing to try to improve their education was obvious to me throughout that. They talk about clarity, and how a lot of us, when we don't have confidence and like there's confusion, it comes from a lack of clarity, and you have to like really know your numbers. Like for me, and probably some of you guys on this call, the analogy he made was that as entrepreneurs, if you've got like a lot of ambition and aggression towards stuff, which is kind of where I fall into, then you're kind of like this savage that's just going after like all these different entrepreneurial endeavors and shooting from the hip. And that's not really sustainable. That's not the way to do it. It's worked in our agency, but it exposed a lot of weaknesses that we can work on and improve. So I came away with like a whole reading list of books that I can really use to get my agency dialed in and get all my numbers and get all my data. So I think this is a really important process, right? I got some private coaching, which is great to get private coaching I've been I kind of have this visual of being this boat that is made up of patchwork of all these different panels, and to be able to be like, hey, person who's helped all these people get to 8-figure businesses, what do you think I should be doing? What should I be focused on? And hey, explain your situation. Let me ask you questions. Okay, now that I've gathered that, here's the advice I have for you. So that's something that I've been kind of desperately seeking for years. And, this is my first exposure to it. So it's been really awesome. So I don't want to dwell on this, on this stuff too much, but I will say that it is very important for you guys to be finding these outlets, and maybe for a lot of you guys, this group is one of them. And I'm honored if that's the case. And if not, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be seeking other ones. They talked about how all these like famous people that are very successful, they still have coaches, right? Like, I don't know if it was like Van Gogh, I can't remember who it is, Van Gogh or somebody who's talked about how they had like a painting coach until they died. Like just some of the most successful people. So it's not something that you should ever stop doing. There's even Tiger Woods, right? Tiger Woods has a golf coach, right? Best at one point, probably the best golfer in the world, maybe one of the best in history, and he's still getting coaching. So if that tells you that, like, hey, we all need it for one way or another. Okay, so I've got a lot of stuff to talk to you guys about away from this. So let's kind of move forward here. As you guys have seen, our GMB is our ability to connect to Google through the API is down, and this is something that is kind of out of our control. We're working really hard to get this stuff back in place. Moving forward, I think the way we're going to be doing this, we're going to be making a pretty big shift. The reason that the GMB goes down, to my understanding, is that the percentage of suspensions is too high within our system from Google. Google says our percentage is too high. So that means that some of our users are kind of like influencing the outcome for other users, which we tried to kind of police it. And we removed the ability to edit and this type of thing. And I don't know if it's something that was really evaluated, but I know that almost every API provider, all of them went down the same day, right? So Google did, just like they do with GMBs, they kind of did like a mass sweep. But moving forward, I think what we're going to be doing is, and I'm not committed to this yet, but this is kind of my plan of where I think we should take this, is to teach you guys how to basically get your API code from Google. And then each one of you will input that just like you do when you're connecting to like Zapier. There's an API connection, right? You're going to plug that in, and that will be for managing all of your GMBs, right? And that way, there's not a dependence, and you'll be responsible for kind of the healthiness of your own. And the onus will not be on us to try to police people, but instead on each one of you guys. So, we talked about this on our team call on Monday. It means that things are a little bit more complicated on your end, and we're going to have to like teach you guys how to step through this process. But I think that's where the longevity is, right? So that seems to be the best idea I have now is like, how can I protect my users from my users? And the way to do that, I think, is to kind of like separate all this out. So, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and feedback on this, but I can't think of a better way to do it right now. So that seems like the direction to move. Okay, so any questions on that before we move on to the next section? You guys can just raise your hand real quick, and we'll and I'd be happy to answer it on that. Don't see anything.
Go ahead, Dan. You can unmute.
Sorry, I didn't. I raised my hand literally, not figuratively.
What's up, man? How are you?
I'm good. Hey,
good to see you.
Yeah, great to see you. Glad you're getting some road work done. If you get down into Florida, let me know. I'd love to catch up.
I will be down there, and we will hang out. And I'm gonna bring my buddy Neil into the picture too. He's got some Florida requests.
Perfect. So two things. One, I love the idea that you're talking about with the API key, teaching us how to do it. Your system has been phenomenal. Unfortunately, we become very dependent upon it. And so to have it down is problematic, as of course you know. So I like the idea of, if there's a way of those of us who are managing it responsibly, not being penalized, that's fantastic. Love the whole idea. Second question related to this, and I don't know if it's API related or not. We've got a client, it's a pretty big client. We built a website for them. We built it in Wix. and we put a lead generated form on it. They took a vacation and they stopped they'd been running their Google ads themselves. When they got back from vacation, during the time they were on vacation is when we put the lead generated form on there. And when they came back and they went to restart their ads, Google said there was malicious code on their website. And we went through, we actually got hold of somebody on Google, did a chat, and I sent you the form, the transcript of the chat. It was all the lead generated stuff, the forms that they were identifying as malicious code. Is this a known issue?
Yeah, it's a known issue. And I would love to know, because what we've tried to do is every single place that you can grab that form, there's a warning message with the checkbox that you have to check that says, I understand that this will cause an issue with Google Ads if I put this and run Google Ads. So if that was not seen somehow, one, I would be surprised. I know that you have people on your team, but I've tried to protect it. And, you know, prior to this GMB, getting a forum that would work on without Google Ads classifying it on malicious software was one of our top priorities. Now we've kind of shifted to like getting our GMB stuff realigned, but it only affects Google Ads. We've got the warning message. So like, Dan, go to your team or whoever set this form up and ask them how they did it and replicate that and see if there's not a checkbox, because I've tried to enforce it every single place to prevent what just happened to you happen to anyone.
I think there's the problem is, so I've got one person who works in lead generated, they created the form. I've got another person who builds the websites and who put the form on it. So the two hands probably didn't talk to each other.
Okay.
We don't run Google Ads for them. The client runs them themselves.
Right.
So it was a multiple hands in the pot. But I'm glad that I know it now, and I probably should have known that before, but I didn't. So thanks for clarifying it.
Yeah. So I'm really sorry that happened to you. I've tried my best to put up neon signs all over the place that say, you know, don't do this the way that you're going to want to do it until we come to. And I hired 3 different sets of teams for people. And I'm going to give a little contest to whoever can solve this problem first with the forms, because we've just like, I don't want to be pulling my guys off of it and they're spinning their wheels nonstop. So I've hired all these people and created like fake Google Ads accounts for them. Just test this and get this to work without it. So I'm really confident that there's a way. If you're running WordPress, this won't be an issue. This only happens on sites like Wix or Weebly or any of those other like sites where you have to put the script in. Because WordPress has a plugin, it's fine. Additionally, it only affects Google Ads. So we've got thousands of people, thousands of forms that are being used with people ranking their sites really well. So there's no like blurry spot with this affecting like your rankings. It's just with Google Ads, and it's just if you're not using WordPress.
So we're looking to migrate a lot of our sites to Duda. Do you know if it's an issue with Duda as well?
It's going to be the same thing with Duda.
Same issue. Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be a script. I don't know if we can, if Duda will allow us to build in like a something into their platform, then we could probably get around it. And I'd be 100% willing to do that. My plan is to make this software as extensible as possible and let it be so like platform independent. So back to your first point, Dan, with opening up the API, the reason that we have limited your guys' ability to edit the GMB is for this very reason, because there was like edits that were previously going through that could lead to a suspension or something like this. So with bringing back the API and kind of putting that on you guys, we're going to fully open everything that we can. So you guys will have full ability to edit again. But it's like, if you are in there and you're trying to manipulate the system and your API goes down, your API connection goes down because of whatever Google scrutiny, then like you can go and get a different one. It's going to be on you. It's not going to be on us to fix that for you guys. Right. So as long as you guys are like playing by the rules, I think that a few bad apples have probably caused this problem for everybody else. And, you know, I have beating my head against the wall trying to prevent this from happening. And it was heartbreaking to see it happen. And, you know, this is my top priority, is to get this back up. So I just want to clear that up for you guys.
So two follow-up questions to that. One, is there anything we can be doing now to begin moving forward in that process? Will you get something like that out to us? And then
yep, that's the plan. I don't do anything yet, because I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to build a tutorial and give you guys very specific instructions on how to answer things so that you guys don't run into any delays or have any issues. Okay. So we're on it. And, you know, for those of you guys that are new on this call or new to the software, I'm sure the group can attest that you know, delivering you guys top value for this is so important to us, and that's certainly the case for this. It's painful to see that you guys don't have part of what you signed up for now, and you know, obviously we're doing the calls and other things that hopefully that compensates for it, but we are all over trying to get this live as soon as possible for you guys, right?
Well, and just, I won't take up any more time, but just for any who are new on the call, one of the things that I really appreciate about you and your team is I know that that's true. And I knew that the minute I saw that it was down, I knew you and your team would be on it nonstop. So I haven't wanted to bug you about it. I appreciate it, Dan. This issue with the Wix thing, and somehow we missed it. And obviously upsetting to our client. You know, as soon as the client hears malicious code, they kind of freak out and go, you know, what have you done to my website? So I know that I'll pass that out to our whole team, so we won't be in this spot again. Yeah, Dan, and just explain it to them that it's not malicious code. It's Google just right. You know, Google could have probably handled this with just like a pinprick, but instead they're just got this huge hammer and they're like, is there something that's sending something to another domain, malicious code automatically, which is exactly what we want it to be sent to another domain. We want it to be sent to lead generated, right? So, yep. But yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to solve that problem as well. Those are kind of like our top two issues. So Dana, I appreciate the kind words too. Thank you for that. It's nice to know that that's what we have. You know, that's the impact or the kind of reputation that we're forming with our users that have been in. I know you were one of our first users, so I appreciate that. And you know, again, I don't want to take a lot of time, but your system has really helped us do two things that were critical to us. One, systematize things. It gave us a platform to be able to systematize things. And then it just provided, especially with the heat map, it provided a tool that just makes sales so much more of a slam dunk. And it's really helped us expand to the next level in terms of taking our clients. You know, you talking about it's much easier to take one client up in price than to find a new one. It's really helped us to do that. So I'm a huge fan. Love you guys. Appreciate all that you do for us. And so thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I look forward to meeting you in person in Florida. Same here. All right. So I've got a couple plans for you guys. I'm going to run through some. Oh, it looks like we got two hands up. We got my buddies from Northern Virginia and Maryland over there. My dinner pals. Let's go to Harry first.
Just a quick question. What parts of lead generated does the problem with the GMB API affect?
It affects the GMB management module, as well as I guess I haven't personally tested. I haven't heard any issues with the heat map. That's not going to affect the rankings or anything like that. The question is when you go to my GMB through it, I think that's still working. You also now have the ability to save a default location. And thirdly, it will affect the reputation management. But part of what I want to show you guys today is how you can deal. It doesn't have to affect the reputation management. I'm going to show you a workaround until we get this fixed of how you can still send review requests through it by using a custom link, right? Instead of like going through the GMB. Some of you guys have said, hey, with this down, I can't send these reviews. I'm going to show you how you can work around that because we can still send the reviews. So it's a minor effect on the reputation management. It's just a slightly different way of doing things that I'm going to explain here in a minute. And then, yeah, so it's just mainly the GMB stuff, just that one module.
Good, thanks.
You are welcome. How are you doing, Harry? You good?
I am good.
Okay.
I'd be better if I had text messaging and reputation management.
That's going to be part of what today's call is about.
Yay!
So yeah, I've got some exciting stuff coming for you guys. So yeah, I'm going to go over that in just a few minutes, but let's go over to my buddy Lou.
Yeah. Hey, Patric. Harry and I had a good meal last week, man. So if you come back this way, we got a really cool double-decker British bus place in Marshall, Virginia to show you. So.
Okay. We'll be going back through there, but it may be like in the mid-fall.
It's all good. This guy like retired at 37 with AOL money. Really interesting owner, chef guy. So
awesome. Yeah.
But what I wanted to ask, so I was digging around lead generated today with the WordPress embed, and I saw it's not compatible with Gutenberg, which everyone in the WordPress thing is like Gutenberg's the next, I don't know, sliced bread. So does your team have any plans to like do that with Gutenberg?
I honestly don't even know what Gutenberg is. Is that some kind of like page builder?
Yeah, it's supposed to be super fast. It's like a block builder, something like the guy I use, William Jones, is they're moving from Elementor to
Gutenberg.
Yeah. So
okay, I'll get my guys started on implementing that. It's pretty easy for us to do an integration. It doesn't take a lot of time, and we have kind of like a dedicated developer for it. So I'll get that started and make sure that we get that integration in there. That's no big deal.
Okay, cool. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, you are welcome. Jeff, I'm trying to pull up a screen and get ready for this little presentation here. Is there anyone else that has a question there? I can't see the stuff.
Dave Sowers had mentioned, is it better to use an iframe form versus HTML? I'm sure other people are thinking that. What is your response?
So we've tried both. Like I don't know if you guys remember, we actually switched things over to an iframe when we had the initial round. I guess this is before I go further, I guess this is in relation to the Google Ads suspension.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So we've tried both, and both of them have failed. So we've done, actually, you guys may not have realized, but there's been a lot of form changes that have happened trying to get around this. And so far, like we're going to get to there. We're going to get there. It's just, we haven't found the solution yet. It's just like I tell you guys, right? There's that glass door with someone drowning in the pool. I'm going to do every single thing I can think of to possibly get through to that other side of the glass door. So that's the process we're in right now. I don't know how many different things we've tried, maybe 15 or 20, but I'm still confident we're going to solve it. It's just a question of when. All right. Any other questions there, Jeff?
We're good. We're all caught up and ready to roll.
Okay. That was faster than I wanted. Give me 1 second here. I'm trying to get logged into this account. Got this Gmail account here. Just give me just a second, guys. So one of the things I'm going to demo for you guys in just a second is the user role stuff. I know that's been a long time with people wanting that, and that is going to be rolled out tomorrow. So you'll have the ability tomorrow when you guys log into your account. So I'm talking tomorrow, like that's going to be Thursday Central Time. When you guys wake up, it should be in there. We were going to do it today, but the timing just didn't work out with my schedule. So we're going to be popping that thing in there, and hopefully we will be able to make your guys lives a lot easier here. Just give me 1 second here. Jeff, give us another takeaway while I try to get this thing set up.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest takeaway that we're learning as we grow is the concept, and I think Dave mentioned this a couple of weeks ago too, and we've heard it at a couple of other places where we've been, is the who not how concept that Dan Sullivan and Strategic Coach came up with, and it's basically solving problems by finding your who and not trying to figure out how. So we had that epiphany with a panel that was on stage at the end on the last day. Kind of the last panel was some takeaways and case studies of people who had been in this group that we were involved with at this mastermind, and kind of like what their successes had been. And one guy in particular, we were kind of both, Patric was sitting behind me. We weren't necessarily looking at each other, but during the time that he was speaking, we were both looking him up on Facebook, like friending him, like we need to get an audience with this guy. And so we took him out to eat that night, and we had a couple of beers and whatever, and spent the next like 6-7 hours with him, kind of like picking his brain and making a great connection, and realizing that we can't take this specific issue on ourselves and become an expert. He already knows how to do it. Like, why would we try to do that ourselves, And just realizing that from sort of like a bigger picture, kind of macro level like that, because it's a big piece of, a particular puzzle that we need to solve. But also on the micro level, just like, Will said, hiring a VA, it's as simple as that. Hiring a VA, like realizing what is not in your best interest to be pursuing yourself and spending your time on. We say it all the time, but it's so empowering when you can start offloading some of that stuff to somebody else and just realize, like, why was I doing that in the first place? You had to learn it. You had to go through your process, but, certainly hiring people and managing people is not a skill set that I grew up around or learned much about. I certainly didn't learn it in college, So I think that's one of the most valuable skill sets you can have, and just relearning that lesson, at different levels, again, from the higher end to the lower levels. So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. One other takeaway is, some of you guys, this is probably obvious to you guys, and for me, it wasn't. I'm trying to do a lot of different hats within our business. And one of them is trying to learn how to be like a CFO. I have a degree in accounting, so maybe that should come natural to me, but it doesn't. And I was talking to a guy there, and he hires a fractional CFO, right? He pays them like $400 a month. And this person comes in, and it can be more if he needs more of their hours. And I think it was more up front, and now they're in like management mode. But to be able to have somebody with like extreme expertise come in here and look at your books and systems, and this is more about being an entrepreneur and a business owner than like how we're going to rank our website. So the people that are at this mastermind, they're not like, we were probably one of 2 lead generators in this whole group, and everyone else is running these different business models. But for me, that was really cool to realize that, hey, I can have access to this without having to pay someone like $10,000 a month, right? I can have kind of like an insight, because I don't need them 40 hours a week in my businesses, right? I'm not running like, Nike, right? I'm running this like relatively, small business, right? So these fractional people exist in all these different professions too. So you guys, you have to solve these problems, and sometimes you're going to have to spend money to do it. And, I'm certainly willing to do it. Some of these multipliers on what you're going to spend is just through the roof. Like for me, what I believe with this fractional CFO person. So just want to put that in your ear too, if anybody resonates with that. Okay. So I've got logged in, and is there somebody on this call? I know there's a way to do it. It's just been a while since I've done it. If somebody could speak up if they're on this call. Within Google My Business, there's a way to get your review link, right? Does someone know how to do that?
Yeah.
I'm logged in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Click on info, and then in that.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen because I want everyone to see this. Give me 1 second. All right. I'm on this laptop, and the controls are all in different spots. Share screen. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. All right, you guys can see my screen, right? George, can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm logged in, and I'm going to go over here to info, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. And then where do I go from here? Share your business profile?
Yeah.
Okay. So this will not take you right to the review spot though, right? It will just take you to the profile.
That'll open it up directly to that page. I think it might be down lower. That's usually what I give out to leave a review, but there is one, if you I think if you go down lower in the info section, it's the back to the other.
Back inside this panel?
Yeah, I think it's, I think if you go down lower, they have a place to.
Is it in the reviews area?
Yeah.
I know there's a link in here.
I'm pretty sure it's on the info page.
It's on that page. It's on the page you were on. It's on the other side, lower down on the screen, right under what is showing.
Okay, so just keep going down here, Tia.
Oh shoot, maybe it's on the home page.
Okay.
On the scroll down. There you go.
Share review form, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. All right. So this is the part where I was talking with Harry, where Harry was asking how, like, what ones it's affecting. So for those of you guys that are sending out review requests and our GMB thing is messed up right now, this is the workaround. So what you can do is you can come in here and you can copy this address, right? So what it ended up being is we go to home and then we scroll down on the right side and there's this button that says get more reviews, share review form. Okay. So what I need to do is I'm going to copy that and I'm going to go back over here and I will put together a training for you guys, but I'm going to go over into lead generated and I'm going to go to my funnel. Okay. So the way we can do this to work around, you guys shouldn't have very much at all functionality lost by this GMB because of this workaround. So we can go in here to review sites and I can choose add a site. So I'm just going to switch this over real quick and make sure this is a company level setting, right? Our review funnel. Okay. So I've got Shiv's bear removal, which is the GMB that I was just logged into, right? And if I try to, let me just double check this. I'm going to go to my review funnel so that I can preview this. And what I've been told is that this is broken. So if I come here and I click on 5 stars and go to Google. Okay, so maybe it's still working if it was already in there. But for those of you that are trying to add a new one, maybe I can test that real quick here. So if I go here and I'm going to remove this review site and add it back because I've heard from several people that this is not pulling through because the GMB is not being found, right? So I'm going to choose Google again, and then I'll select the site, Bob's Bear Removal, add review sites. Let's try this again. I think I can just refresh this actually. Okay, so maybe it's the fact that we can't add GMBs. So that must be what's going on. So in any event, I'm going to show you how you can do it. Okay, so I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to remove Google here because let's say I can't add a GMB because the API is down, right? So I'll go here. So what am I going to do? So what you can do is you can go here and you can choose add a site. And this can be applied not only for Google, but for any site that you would want to review. Personally, I feel very strongly that the Google reviews are the most important. Those are going to impact our ranking within GMBs, right? So what you can do is you can choose the custom option. And from here, I could upload an image. So I could choose the Google icon and then I could paste this in here as the link, right? So I will choose add. I'm not sure if it's going to require that image. I think it is. I don't really like how it handled that. So let me do custom again, and I'll just take you guys through the steps so that you guys can do this. So I'm just going to do Google icon, and I will just download a Google icon, right? I don't think Google's going to have a problem with this. So we'll just use this one. Save image. Is everybody following what I'm trying to accomplish here? Hold on one second, guys. Sorry. Is everybody following what we're trying to do here?
I'm getting thumbs up. I see some.
Okay, cool. Cool. I'm just going to put this here. We'll call this. Put in photos. Hopefully there's. Okay. Icon. Okay. All right. So now when I go here, what I can do, so basically what this is going to allow you to do is you can really add any site you want. So if you have a client that for whatever reason, so that's the one that I copied. Okay, if you have a client for whatever reason wants to get reviews on other sites, then that's no problem at all. Okay, so let's go to pictures, and then I've got this Google icon here. Okay, so now I've got my Google icon, and I'm going to add my custom website. So my review site is added. So I've got that one now. See how that did that? So when I go to do this review funnel, let me just refresh this. You shouldn't have to reload it or like relaunch it. You can just refresh it if you make any changes. So if I click on 5, there's my Google icon that I added, and it's going to go to that link that I just put in eventually. There we go. Okay, perfect. So, so that's the workaround on how that can work. So if you're trying to add a new GMB and our system won't let you, and you want to load some up, this is what you can do right here. Okay. Before we go on to the next topic, is there anyone that has a question at all about this? Jeff, can you help manage that for me?
Yeah, for sure. I asked on Facebook, and people who responded said they're tracking. Anybody over here on Zoom? Questions?
All right. We have only a few minutes left, so I want to make sure that we get into what is coming now. So that should take care of that. And, you know, we will definitely have some new updates as soon as we possibly can with the GMB issues. Okay, so I want to show you guys the update that's going to come out tomorrow. So if you go to settings and users, so this is not in your account, this is in our kind of like development server. You'll notice that we're going to have an option down here that says user roles. Okay, so the way this is going to work is you're going to have the ability, tomorrow we're going to move this stuff. We've been testing this stuff for a long time. So if I go here and I create a new role, so maybe I want this one to be like lead management. So I only want my client to have there we go. Okay. Oops. I have made several of these already, I guess. Or maybe I just clicked it multiple times. Huh. Guess we should take a look at that before we launch it. All right. So let's edit one of these. Now, oops. Let's view one of these now that we've created it. So this is what you guys are going to be able to do. All right. So the user roles, I've named it this, and you can see that everything is turned off by default. So that's how we're going to have it set up. So you guys can decide what you want to turn on and off. So I'm going to turn on lead management. And once I do that, it's going to bring in all these other options here, right? So each one of these is going to kind of correspond, since we're in the lead management module, it's going to correspond to something over here within this module here, right? So we have leads, which is going to be all leads, and export leads. So you can show the leads, the leads module. So let me just open this up so you can kind of, oh no. Damn, that's not what I wanted to happen. All right, give me 1 second here. I'm trying to open this in a new tab. All right, cool. So we have the all leads area here, and you'll notice that there is a export option within this, right? So you can export. So you can turn that off with that switch right there, right? So that's what that is. And all calls, we have over here on this side, we have the all calls area. So you can shut that off wherever that is. It's weird. It's not showing in my demo account, but I know that is in lead generated. So you'll be able to shut that off. So that's kind of how that's working there. So you can add in whatever you want, right? And it's the same for reputation management. We've got a bunch of different pieces here. And then we've got the heat map. The heat map right now, due diligence and GMB management are just on-off switches. So you can decide whether that whole module, and it's the same for these. So you can decide whether that whole module is visible or not. I had this goal of trying to get updates to you guys more often. And then instead of like having everything built out to a T, let's give you guys the functionality. So now you can decide if you want your clients to have access to these, or whatever users you're assigning to within your agency can have access to those. Okay. So this should give you a lot of flexibility. And then you'll notice each week, we're going to keep building onto this. It's going to be more and more permissions so that you can really fine tune this. So once you create your user roles, so you can do that, once again, that's going to be inside settings and then users and then user roles. And what you do after you create this is you can assign it to a user. So I'm not sure if I have users in this. Okay, so we've got John Smith here. So let's look at this guy here. And if I edit this user, you'll see that I have these different user roles, right? So there's some that are going to be in here by default, but you can see I created these different lead management ones a few minutes ago. So these admin, client, manager are always going to be there, but then these are the other ones that you've created. So you create it and then you can assign it. And now you've got this kind of ability to have a lot more control over what people have access to. So this will be live in your accounts tomorrow. Okay, cool. Any questions about this, guys? We good? Are you guys liking this?
Tia has a question. Go ahead, Tia.
So I have a client and I have a person who is giving me leads that I'm giving to the client. And I don't want the client or the person giving me leads to have access to each other. But I want the leads to go directly from one client to the other without me having to middleman it. Is that something that this can do?
Yes. So I'm going to need to think about that and like the best way to structure that for you. So let me just make sure I understand the scenario. So you want to give access to both of these people of what they've sent to you as well as what you've sent to this other person, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, well, I want the person who's sending the leads, I want those leads to go directly. Yeah, I do. I want the leads to go directly to that person. And then that person who's sending the leads wants confirmation from the person who receives the leads that he's tending to them. And I just, I don't want to get in the middle of that. But I also, I don't want my one person to have access to my other person.
Yeah, you don't want to get cut out of being the middleman. Yeah, I got you. Give me a little bit of time, Tia, to think about that, and I'll respond to you personally and let you know what I think the best way to set that up is. I've never had someone ask that question. I completely understand it now. I just need some time to think through it, okay?
Yeah, thank you so much, Reese. I super appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good one. You need to be able to do that.
Cool. All right, so we got no more questions on that, right?
That's right. I don't see anyone else.
Let's this is what's coming next. So we're already kind of like through the development in our system. So campaigns. Okay, so campaigns are let's just kind of jump into this. If you guys have used Zapier before, then you'll kind of understand what's going on here. All right, so I've demoed this before when we were like, hey, we're going to start building this. Now we're getting close to, we're going to start launching this really soon. So the way this is going to work is you can set up, let me do a new one actually. We'll start from scratch. Okay, so a campaign. So I'm going to create a campaign and you can use these for a lot of different things. Okay, so let's say I want to set up a trigger. Okay, so a trigger would be some event happens. Okay, and I am on my hotspot while streaming video and I think my internet is running a little bit slow. Is that not starting? Hello. Okay, I've got some kind of internet issue going on here. Let me go back to using an existing one. So essentially you'll be able to build out your own workflow of things. Okay, so yeah, my internet is just running really slow here. Okay, so basically, you can choose between like a phone call or a form submission, and then you can apply conditions to it. So for instance, the conditions could be the company. So it could be, hey, if the company is equal to, and then the company name, or if the company, you can see we've got a lot of different options here as well. I'm going to go through this pretty quick because I've got to wrap this call up. We've also got the ability to use a name. So you can say, hey, if the name contains this, you could say phone number. Here's a good one that I think you guys are going to like is zip code. So you could say if the zip code contains this or is equal to this, and this accepts comma separated values. So if you wanted to, like we have zip code here, right? If you wanted to load in 10 different zip codes and say, hey, if the lead comes in, it's a form submission and it's one of these zip codes, then automatically do this. And then the next step is If not, then do this. So this is our texting system that we've put into place. This will be used for our reputation management as well as potentially lead delivery. And then as we expand the system to kind of move it into a lot of other possibilities, right? It could be that if the phone call is classified as a missed phone call, then automatically send a text message to the caller from the client. So you could build this out. All these are variables. So I can essentially like drag this over. So we have our predefined fields here. We have our company. So it could be the client name. If you want the client name each time, I can drag that over, and whatever client is associated with that company for the lead, it will plug their name in there. And then you also have your custom fields. So you can choose from your different custom fields. This is a button right here. So this include link. So this is kind of what we're using for reputation management. And you can choose whether it's a link to the review funnel, the lead details, or you could put in your own custom link. So we'll be making some fields, some user created link fields that you can use, right? So if you want to include a link to something that we can't really categorize. So we've got this, you have the option to send an SMS, connect to Zapier, email, update a field status. So if you choose, I don't know what I've done wrong to not do this, but we could update a field status. And then as we go through and we release our pipeline system here, which is about to come out as well, then you could also be moving things in and out of the pipeline. So a lot of big stuff, but we're starting off with the user roles. You guys can check that out tomorrow. Like I said, I'm on a really tight time schedule right now. So I have to hop off this call, and we have to get to where we're going by 9:30. So I wish I could spend more time with you guys. I hope you guys like these updates. I appreciate your guys' support and understanding with what we're dealing with the GMB. And I guess we'll see you guys in the group. And if there's anything else you need, just post a message there. And Tia, I will reach out to you. I'm excited to get these new features to you guys. We have a lot of stuff that's been kind of queued up for a long time. So we're going to be releasing this stuff much, much faster now. So all right, you guys have a great week. Like I said earlier, let's do the things that are necessary to create the wins. Like if you want to get to the 10K month like Devon, it's a collection of small steps. So this next 7 days is your opportunity to do some of those small steps and move you in that direction. You guys have a great week, and we'll be with you soon. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Travel safe.
Appreciate it, Harry. Thank you. Bye, everybody.